is really just an admission of the truth about them. And no one displays that more than the projection president himself. Yes, Donald Trump, every attack he levies, every false claim he makes is always really just the truth about him. And the big lie of a stolen election in 2020 is a perfect example of this. Donald Trump is actively trying to steal the midterms and actively tried to steal the 2020 election. It is not in reverse as they would like you to believe. And someone who is making that incredibly clear and dropping a bomb on Donald Trump's election fraud is Kamala Harris, and it's got MAGA panicked. We're going to get into it all, but before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button because it goes a long way in supporting our work. Now, before we can get into this bombshell from the former vice president, I want to start with what Gavin Newsom perfectly put in a call out of the lies about the redistricting effort in California in this clip right here.
We're moving forward with a special election on November 4th, coinciding with other local municipal elections to neutralize anything that Greg Abbott and Republicans are doing in Texas. They do 5 seats, we do 5 seats. And we're not only doing that, we're also announcing, as a consequence of this effort, a commitment to national independent redistricting. Well, that's on the ballot as well. We believe it's the right thing to do. In fact, the Democratic Party believes it's the right thing to do. Democrats have voted for national independent redistricting. Republicans have not. So spare me the crocodile tears on Fox and everyone else saying, oh, everybody does this. Oh, these guys have been gerrymandering for years and years and years. Not like these folks have. And we're at least willing to call that out. And in California, we have moral authority because for 15 years we've had an independent redistricting commission, and we have some of the most competitive races. They may be going to Democrats. That's on the basis of competition, but some of the most competitive districts in America.
You are going to hear a lot, and I mean a lot, of lies about Gavin Newsom's redistricting effort over the next couple of months. This is going to be the big target by Republicans. They are going to spend upwards of $100 million in California trying to get Newsom to fail, trying to get our fight to fail, because they know this is the big one. If we win here, it is impossible for Republicans to win this battle. It is impossible for Republicans to steal the midterm. So we have to make it clear that Gavin Newsom sending this to the voters, allowing them to decide how we fight back against Donald Trump, is not how Fox would like to spin this. It is not a stolen election. It is not anti-democratic. It is entirely democratic. That is what is happening right now. There are no phony numbers being made up. There's no shape-shifting of our narrative. That's not happening. The only people doing that right now are in the Trump administration or are in Texas, Indiana, Ohio, Florida. It doesn't matter. And we're seeing a lot of those lies come out of the current vice president, unfortunately, before we get to what Kamala Harris had to say.
But we know sometimes they do. You still count illegal aliens for congressional apportionment. So California has way more House seats than it should because they have such a high population of illegal aliens. So they get rewarded for welcoming illegal aliens in their state, giving them federal benefits, actually asking the taxpayers of states like Ohio to subsidize them.
Man, this is cold-blooded politics, y'all. So here's what's happening, and it's pretty big. The White House just put out a draft memo saying furloughed workers, you know, the folks who are not allowed to work because of this shutdown, might not get back pay once this mess is over. That's right. Trump's people are saying that unless you are essential, meaning you worked without pay, you might be out of luck. Never mind that Congress has already passed a law in 2019 and Trump himself signed it, guaranteeing that every federal worker gets paid once the shutdown ends. He's out here saying that some people don't deserve to be taken care of. Sir, what are you talking about? These are mail carriers, park rangers, food inspectors, airport staff, working class Americans that make this country run while billionaires sit in boardrooms sipping on tax breaks. Now, let me be clear. This is not about saving money. It's about control, using working people as pawns in a political tantrum. When you hold people's pay hostage, you're not governing, you're exploiting. And if Trump gets away with this, it sets a dangerous precedent. The idea that the president can rewrite labor laws, ignore Congress, and decide who deserves a paycheck, that's not leadership, that's dictatorship behavior dressed up in a red, white, and blue flag. How is a president who lives off taxpayer-funded security, travel, and golf courses going to tell anybody else they don't deserve to be taken care of? This country was run on the backs of those same workers he's threatening. And how about this? If they ever stop showing up entirely, this government will collapse faster than a Trump casino. If this memo sticks, Hundreds of thousands of families will miss rent, car notes, and grocery money, all because of one man's ego. Can't handle a compromise. He's trying to turn civil service into civil suffering. And the question every American needs to ask right now is simple. If he's willing to take food off the tables of federal workers, what makes you think your rights or your benefits or your job are safe next?
For several years, we heard politicians in Washington, D.C. tell us that TikTok, because it's owned by Chinese company ByteDance, cannot be trusted. They're gonna do things like track your location, and they're gonna steal your data and sell it to people, which is literally no different than any other social media website in the country. It's no different than Amazon. It's no different than what these other, American media outlets do. Not even social media, regular media outlets. You sign up for something online, they own your data and they sell it to anybody willing to buy it legally. But we were told that TikTok was evil because they were doing the same thing that American CEOs were doing. And therefore, President Biden signed the legislation saying TikTok has to be sold or it's out of the United States forever. Now, Trump pledged he was going to save TikTok. TikTok's not going anywhere. We're going to keep it. And he made true on that promise. Give him credit for that. The only problem is, of course, is that TikTok is being sold in the United States to two of the most far-right propagandists imaginable. One of them, of course, Donald Trump's good buddy, billionaire Larry Ellison, who's in the process of, turning CBS into a conservative media outlet. And the other person is Rupert Murdoch, the owner and founder of Fox News, the owner of the Wall Street Journal. Hardcore conservatives, one of whom is a master of right-wing propaganda, basically changed the game, invented right-wing propaganda almost. And those are the two nut jobs that are now going to own TikTok. So if you think that TikTok is going to just continue operating as is, we got nothing to worry about, they're not going to stifle anybody on the left, you got another thing coming. Because that is absolutely going to happen. Don't believe me? How about the fact that when Donald Trump signed this order just a couple weeks ago, he said he'd like to make it 100% MAGA. He'd like to censor influencers by tweaking the algorithm so that content is 100% MAGA. That's what he said. On camera. While signing the papers. He wants to make it 100% MAGA. And sure, you could argue he said after that he was joking. Yeah, because Donald Trump jokes around a lot and never follows through on doing anything that he jokes about, right? Right? If it doesn't land, he'll say he's joking, but that doesn't change his overall scheme. And even if Trump hadn't blatantly admitted that he's turning TikTok into a MAGA propaganda machine, the two people running it were going to do it anyway. We've seen it happen.
So things just got real. President Trump is now planning to allegedly sit down face to face with both Vladimir Putin and Vladimir Zelensky and nobody else. No EU leaders, no NATO reps, just Trump, Putin, and Zelensky in the same room. That's the report, and apparently Putin himself is the one requesting the meeting after talking with Trump's envoy in Moscow. Trump's saying real progress was made, and he even gave Europe a heads up afterwards. But here's the kicker. Trump gave Putin a deadline. Get to a ceasefire by Friday or the tariffs start flying. And we're not talking about regular tariffs here. These are secondary tariffs, meaning the punishment for every country still doing business with Russia gets hit as well. That would be a hit on Russia's economy hard and fast. And just last week, Trump repositioned 2 U.S. nuclear subs after a warning from Russia's former president, Dmitry Medvedev. This is moving fast and it's bold. But could this be what finally ends the war, or is this going to blow up into something even bigger?
Boom. The deep state just took a direct hit, and you're about to find out why millions of Americans are cheering. Because President Donald J. Trump has officially obliterated Biden's IRS army, shredding it like yesterday's lies. And in the ashes, he dropped a Social Security bombshell that is already flipping the system on its head. Now, for years, we've been told the same old lie, that we need more IRS agents, that we need more audits, more surveillance. But Trump just proved the exact opposite, and the numbers, they back him up. Less government, more money collected, and now more power back in your hands. So guys, it gets even better, but even darker at the same time, because what President Trump just exposed about Social Security, it is not just shocking. This is enraging. For decades, you've been overpaying into a system that was never designed to pay you back fairly. And it's no accident. This was a setup. And now that President Trump ripped the lid off the IRS, he's now cracking the Social Security machine next. So here's what I want to uncover today. Why President Trump's IRS purge caused tax revenues to surge while Biden's bloated system failed, how the SSA quietly changed payout policies, and what this means for you right now, the dark secret that's behind withholding taxes, a psychological trick that the government used to blindfold your bank account, and finally, of course, what President Trump's next move might be to dismantle this entire rigged game once and for all. So stay locked in, guys, because the deeper we go, the more outrageous it actually gets. Oh, and when you hear the final Social Security twist, you're going to realize that this wasn't just a cleanup. This was a full-blown elimination. So let's go. By the way, if you appreciate the daily news updates, smash the like button and subscribe. Thank you so much, guys. So let's start with the numbers that they didn't want you to see. Under President Trump, the IRS lost over 26,000 employees. That's 25% of its entire workforce gone. Gone are thousands of tax auditors, revenue agents, bureaucrats who made their careers combing through your finances like some vultures circling a paycheck. Now, you would think tax collection would collapse, right? Wrong. As of June 2025, with, that slashed workforce, the U.S. government collected $245 billion more than it did at this point last year. Let that sink in. Fewer agents, more money, less harassment. So here's the million-dollar question. If President Trump can downsize the IRS and still bring in record-setting revenue, then why did Joe Biden demand 87,000 new IRS agents in the first place? I mean, was it really about closing the tax gap, or was it just about building a federal army to monitor you? Now, let's talk about that army, shall we? Because Biden, he didn't just expand the IRS, he weaponized it. Back in 2022, he pushed through the Inflation Reduction Act. Some of you may remember that. And with this Inflation Reduction Act, it came funding for a tidal wave of new IRS agents armed with computers, audits, and the authority to poke through every dollar you made. There were even rumors of some of these IRS agents being armed with guns. Anyway, they said it was about making billionaires pay more. But who really got flagged? You did. Meanwhile, President Trump, he wasn't interested in.
Well, remember when Donald Trump said he would never cut Social Security? Guess what? He lied. The Trump administration is about to make it nearly impossible for older Americans to get Social Security disability benefits. This is essentially a proposal to make some Americans work until they die. Right now, when you apply for disability benefits, the Social Security Administration considers your age, work experience, and education. If you're over 50, you have a better shot at qualifying because the system recognizes you're less able to adapt to new types of work. But Trump's plan would either eliminate age as a factor entirely or raise the threshold to age 60. Think about what that means. A 55-year-old construction worker with a wrecked back would be told to figure it out and go learn to code or something. If this rule reduces eligibility by just 10%, 500,000 people would lose benefits over the next decade. 80,000 widows and children would lose benefits because their spouse or parent was denied. That's $82 billion less in benefits to people who paid into the system their entire lives. And here's the cruel part. Research shows that most older Americans who get denied disability benefits don't find another job. Instead, they are forced to take early retirement at 62, which means 30% less in benefits for the rest of their lives. And y'all, this comes as the Social Security Administration is already a complete disaster under Trump and Doge. Call centers are now wildly short-staffed, and your calls will take forever to be answered, but you won't hear about it. Why? Because the administration is hiding data showing how badly service has declined. All of our most sensitive personal data has been uploaded to an insecure cloud server, and this summer they started clawing back unintentional overpayments in a way that is literally leaving seniors and people with disabilities with no money to pay their rent and their grocery bills. Let's be clear about what's happening here. Trump and this guy, Russell Vought, at the Office of Management and Budget, they are gutting the safety net. They're making it harder for disabled Americans to get the benefits they have earned. They are forcing older workers to keep working even when their bodies are breaking down. Senator Ron Wyden called this the largest cut to disability insurance in American history. He also said that this is just phase one of Republican plans to force Americans to work into old age. If you're not calling your representatives about this, you should really start, because this Could be you, could be me, it could be someone we love someday. Republicans want you to work until the day you die. Don't let them get away with it.
But yet today, Trump announces Trump RX, a government-sponsored pharmacy where people can buy medicine without direct.
I have so much to say about this.
What can you tell me about Trump RX?
First of all, I like the idea. The problem is I'm so conflicted because this is the same guy who hates universal health care, who hates giving health insurance to people. And now he's, you know what? I'm going to make drugs cheaper. Which part of the government taking over healthcare? There's something like a $70 billion investment from Pfizer to create drug production here in the country. And the way that he's setting the prices on the drugs is he's having all the prices of all the drugs outside of the US. They're finding the lowest cost of whatever country pays the least. And then they're making that be the cost of the drugs in the United States.